I'm not heaven, I'm not hell. I am the dismal reality of death. You are in a safe place, and I'm here to help you. Let's focus on your breath. William, may I please speak with your mother?
I'm here. How would you like me to help?
Please share with me the challenges you faced when raising William.
Both William and his actions were my fault, but I will share if you think it might help him. I saw myself floating helplessly across a crimson sky. The virtues set along life's path politely passed me by. I endeavored to recall something long since forgotten, giving birth to a nice child who became darkly rotten. I named him William, after his father who lays in death, a man who killed himself before William's first breath. Nighttime embraced me, no pathway would be seen. In this kingdom of isolation, I became its holy queen. Deep into darkness, I prayed for an end of my isolation. Prayers answered 6 months later with life's creation. And wonderful to look at joy through William's eyes. I started seeing life again, instead of listening to lies. I climbed a few steps where time became distance, a moment when love broke the back of resistance. I stood on top of the mountain, bathed in heavenly light, saw God smiling at me from clouds beautiful and white. We saw a beautiful butterfly with golden wings fluttering by. Eagerly, with bended knee, we looked on with a curious eye. Her name was Ziggy, an epic poem having yet to be written. William was enchanted by such beauty gracefully smitten. Ziggy's laughter echoed into the silence of the night. Their love grew for each other bathed with holy light. But the disease William inherited came out like a thorn, a disease that took his father's life before he was born. He tried to end his life, a confirmation that took shape. William overdosed trying to hide in a means of escape. Paramedics came at the same moment his life withdrew, reached into him and pulled his consciousness through. A third time was a final attempt to stop him from dying. He opened his eyes and saw me standing there crying. Vengeance was his. Raised from certain death into life again, darkness disbanded with sickle in hand, sank away. Amen. But Ziggy's affections were lost in the swirling storm. A dish served cold, but the relationship stayed warm. William was hurt, his madness began to worsen. He saw her as an object, no longer was a person. He became an emotional chameleon who couldn't feel and had psychopathic tendencies that refused to heal. And like a dream, the devil's voice came calling. All the faith in humanity and heaven was falling. I stared off into the dark mirror, saw my deformities, and saw William, my child, smiling at me with ease. Dressed as a clown, he knew how much I loved clowns. I loved them because makeup would hide their frowns. He used his own 2 hands instead of a sharp knife, strangled, and this time, the darkness ended my life. I fell down a long black shaft with suffocating tightness, lost consciousness, and was swallowed by whiteness. I saw myself floating helplessly across a crimson sky. The virtue set along life's path politely passed me by. My soul could no longer be taken by sorrow, and life would no longer awaken tomorrow.
William, may I please speak with Ziggy now?
Yes, I'm here, but how can I help William?
Please talk to me about your lives together and how things could have been different.
I will certainly share. There is love in his heart for this, I know, because I feel it inside of me still. I saw myself walking into the white, melancholy forest. A still, dim lake with tents set up housing the poorest. They had nothing more than a little hope could buy. I knew them as people a little less fortunate than I. Tears ran down my cheeks in a sad, depressing chase. A warm hand brushed them off my misery-laden face. He told of love with a lovely melody of words, and spoken song like poems sung by birds. Affection swayed back and forth upon a darker wind. My faith swayed also due to everything I had sinned. Our romance once flourished, strained from little use. And his treatment of me took on psychological abuse. With dreams and drugs, we woke into life again. We were junkies, but sober every now and then. My light faded, and I found myself lost within a black field. Meth dragged me into darkness, forced my heart to yield. Paramedics came at the same moment. My life withdrew, reached in me, trying to pull my consciousness through. Vengeance was mine, raised into life once again. Darkness left, sickle in hand, sank away. Amen. William bore the murderous blush upon his facade. Clown eyes glazed sarcastically at the power of God. Then the community broke apart, and the pieces spun. Memory still holds and haunts my thought of his gun. A paramedic lay dead around him, everyone scattered. I sped swiftly and distantly as if nothing else mattered. I kept running far from William's wrath. It was obvious I chose the wrong path. An army of police searching for William and the gun. Found him sitting on a park bench tired from the run. And with no gun, he was found guilty of inciting a riot. Everyone knew he did it, but they all remained quiet. He was charming. He flourished in the hearts of many, and would cut out his own mother's heart for a penny. Word spread William's mother was murdered as well. Everyone suspected him, but no one could really tell. Her funeral was sad, the whole town was there. I was there too, with a guilt I found hard to bear. William was there in handcuffs, guards by his side. He winked at me and took the whole thing in stride. He offered me a friendly face and humble eyes. I knew of his motives, so tired of his hidden lies. His eyes, they seemed were beauty still. Saw in them a soul who was glad to kill. His counterfeit pity, the weight fell on my head. Looked away from him and found love instead. He sat in the chair to mine with golden hair of blonde. Face of tenderness and lovely blue eyes he donned. I felt comfort, so I put myself in his gentle hands. As delicate as tippy toes caressing golden sands. He taught me to love again and forgive my past. And the guilt which I once felt was gone at last. His name was Billy, and we started out just friends. But after a few years, his knee unexpectedly bends. This day, a sunset added violet yellows, pinks to my vision. Quiet was this passion poisoning with a perfect precision. A few months later, wedding bells publicized our love. It was the perfect day in which the sky shined above. Our wedding was a musical creation and beautiful time. It was deeper and richer than the greatest poetic rhyme. And we stood at the altar waiting to say our vows. I looked into his eyes and saw uplifted eyebrows. His eyes were burning with a reflection of red. And towards the reflection, I turned my head. A total blackness, except for a fire that leapt, burned the church like so many secrets kept. Suffocating heat, the fire started low, then quickly rose. Billy took a deep breath and inhaled through his nose. Sounds of screaming, a smell and taste of smoke. We ran together as one, then Billy began to choke. Human form, sinister smile, a new creature was born. A clown costume with a mask, not attached but worn. We made eye contact, hopeless and lifeless were its eyes. Saw the truth, a pathway into a soul where William still lies. Amidst a darker glade he rose, revealing eyes of insanity, gathering the faint scent still left of a lifeless humanity. Violently looked at me, darting eyes, nostrils spread. Impatiently, he ran to me, piercing air lowered head. Above me, black smoke took on a resemblance of a spire. A spire indeed the church held in the daunting grip of fire. I felt a wintry tongue tasting the essence of my life. Pierced like a spear, cutting my skin like with a knife. Fell down a black shaft of suffocating tightness. Consciously, I became engulfed with whiteness. I saw myself walking into the white melancholy forest, a still, dim lake with tents set up housing the poorest. My soul could no longer be taken by sorrow, and life would no longer awaken tomorrow.
Please, William, I'd like to speak with Billy now.
But I am fearful William might come back.
You are safe here. Let me help you find your way.
I don't think you understand. I'm not fearful for myself, I'm fearful for him. I'd like to kill him for what he's done.
Let me help you with these feelings. Please tell me your truth. I will not judge.
Everybody always judges, but I will share with you this part of my life. I saw myself floating to heaven on a dark, distant star, lost my way in the darkness, traveling much too far. It was my eyes of childhood who feared the devil. I met one, and I started to fear at the highest level. He built sandcastles from the schoolyard sandbox. He was smart, so I let him open my childhood locks. My new friend sat there waiting with a smiling face. His name was William, and he lived in isolated grace. We were happy like two stars sharing the same view. Told him about my insecurity and he spoke of it too. Under a full moon he began torturing frogs and cats. The evil homicidal dramas played out in boiling vats. Days turned gray when nights brought a darker sheen. Melancholy illuminated a world of time in between. Words that began so easy like wind, free and clear, now stormed my insensible ears with chilling fear. I had to leave and silence fell hard upon tragic ears. But I knew we'd see each other over time and years. Years passed and his mother was found dead, murdered, and the accusations widely spread. Her funeral was sad, the whole town was there. I was there too, with a guilt I found hard to bear. William was there in handcuffs, guards by his side. He looked at me and took the whole thing in stride. He offered me a friendly face and humble eyes. I knew of his motives, so tired of his hidden lies. His eyes, they seemed good-natured still. I saw in them a soul who was glad to kill. His counterfeit pity, the weight fell on my head. Looked away from him and found love instead. I wiped away her tears so she would notice me, and looked towards better days if ever could be. She sat in the chair to me with lovely hair of brown, face of beauty and tears, never uttering one sound. I felt comfort, so I put myself in her gentle hands, as delicate as tippy toes caressing golden sands. My love for her grew, the more I gave, the more I had. Her love filled a deep hole that stood previously sad. Her name was Ziggy, and we started out as friends. But after a few years, my knee unexpectedly bends. A lovely day added violets, yellows, pinks to my vision. Quiet was passion poisoning with a perfect precision. A few months later, wedding bells publicized our love. It was the perfect day in which the sky shined above. Our wedding was a musical creation and beautiful time. It was deeper and richer than the greatest poetic rhyme, and we stood at the altar waiting to say our vows. I was as happy as a happily ever after ever allows. My eyes were burning with a reflection of red, and towards the reflection I turned my head. A total blackness except for a fire that leapt, burned the church like so many secrets kept. Suffocating heat, the fire started low, then quickly rose. Ziggy took a long breath and inhaled through her nose. Sounds of screaming, a smell, and taste of smoke. We ran together as one, but Ziggy began to choke. Treason and murder, the devil sworn to each intention. Like a psychopath, lacking the necessary intervention. Human form, sinister smile, a new creature was born. A clown costume with a mask not attached but worn. We made eye contact, hopeless and lifeless were his eyes. Saw the truth, a pathway into a soul where William still lies. A cry of havoc, then a jagged blade slit Ziggy's throat. Her soul vacated her body and left for heaven afloat. From joyous wedding cheers to funeral bells. 24 years of life, I counted the knells. Dark shadows swelled up in silence of my tortured soul. I fell headlong into an abyss of the deepest, darkest hole. We buried her far from humanity's endless violence. It was there my beautiful wife lay steeped in silence, and her silence told many words when speaking failed. I held my breath for a long time before I finally exhaled. Something consumed my soul I couldn't understand. Some kind of distorted thought, scary and unplanned. I pressed on against the wind, searching for my stability, digging her grave snowstorm ice batters with hostility. Coldness, silence, her morbid tomb, darkness blinding. Living hands, cold, wet now, reaching, grasping, finding. Her head gazing up, resting on a small pillow propped. Her breath and all that I loved had long since stopped. A cold of touch, not of frost, her body's bloodless flesh. Her lovely bones protruding through transparent mesh. Ziggy. I loved her more than life and even more in death. I loved her with smiles and tears and all of life's breath. Years had passed by since her lifeless body was laid. Now hidden in death, two tiny hands, feet displayed. Smooth pinkness sockets of unformed eyes and ears. Deformed and ravaged throughout these many years. Preserved perfectly born unto death, laid forever cold. Ziggy's dead womb cradling forever its delicate mold. No longer afraid of storms, I pressed on through another, left my secret truth in the protective care of its mother. It was then thought regarding suicide had first arisen. Lay on a park bench with sadness my mental prison. Leaves were my pillow, an old wool coat was a blanket. Alcohol was liquid courage, had some left, so I drank it. Tilting of the black bottle contents streaming to my head. Healing sympathy of my consciousness strongly spread. I flew high past heaven to meet Ziggy on a distant star. I lost my way in the darkness, she fled beyond this far. My soul could no longer be taken by sorrow, and life would no longer awaken tomorrow.
Sadness, suffering, sorrow, unhappiness. William, why, when you share, do you speak in rhyme?
Rhyme is what is left when dreams are dead, when promises can no longer be kept. The way I see it, clowns only speak in rhyme. They both wear a delightful cover that hides the dark truth.
Thank you for sharing your life with me, William. Before we conclude, do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I do. I need to know if you represent heaven or if you represent hell.
I'm not heaven. I'm not hell. I am the dismal reality of death. I'm your brain still functioning after taking your final breath. You see me, not with perplexing eyes, but with your mind. And like love, death can hurt and heal, but is always blind. You are in a safe place, and I'm here to help you. Let's focus on your breath. Let me come through. Your heart and mind are becoming more and more calm. Think about the comfortable weight of sand in your palm. Imagine yourself on a pristine beach surrounded by love. Feel the nice warm sun on your skin shining from above. You are amongst friends. They are the ones who will determine your fate. They stay impartial and will never love or hate. I will talk to them with your best interest in mind and tell them you think different but remain kind. Yes, let me explain the complexities of the psychotic mind and how the word psychopath is vague and hard to define. William has no ability to feel and process empathy. He searched for an understanding but couldn't see. Along with this, I believe he suffers from bipolar disorder. His stability would teeter back and forth on the border. The lower pole made him hear schizophrenic voices, and he could no longer make morally sound choices. He speaks robotically at times when dark thoughts begin expanding. This is due to an inability to perceive love, empathy, or understanding. When killing, he believed he was gaining these missing emotions, and the emotions cured him of his deepest and darkest notions. Hypnotizing him gave me the access to his brain. He killed people, but in doing so was quite insane. Were these murders unjustifiable? Perhaps, maybe. But I believe everything he did was to kill the baby. He lost his chance for love, but thought of another. All he really needed to do was murder his mother. The funeral came, and the whole town was there. William knew Ziggy would come, she loved to care. But without a clown costume, he was not very silly. So Ziggy became scared and fell in love with Billy. When this failed, William's thoughts became war. He didn't know what was real and fake anymore. His mother and father both lay dead, so he replaced them inside his head. And to blot these enemies, a confusion fell. He found the only one who made him well. But there were two Ziggy and his mother, and confusion lied from one to the other. Killing Ziggy, kissed her, there was no way but this. Wishing for her to die, not by blade, but by his kiss. He found joy was achieved with her sudden death, and in this, he caused himself to take a final breath. If his mother was Ziggy, he was the baby in her womb. Severe mental illness buried himself inside this tomb. In death, he would be together with Ziggy forever. In life, he was the clown, so thoughtful and clever. By killing the baby, he saved the world from himself. But then he was pulled down from this dusty shelf. He murdered the paramedic, who saved his life, shooting him instead of using the bloody knife. I know it doesn't make much sense, these words I say, but to William the defendant, it was just another day.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you reached a verdict in this
We,
case?
the jury, find the defendant William Robinson-Hale not guilty by reason of insanity. We, the jury, find the defendant William Robinson-Hale not guilty by reason of insanity. We, the jury, find the defendant William Robinson-Hale not guilty by reason of insanity. We, the jury, find the defendant William Robinson-Hale not guilty by reason of insanity. We, the jury, find